I slammed the door on my own flesh and blood that night, the echo ringing through the house like a gunshot in a confessional. My son, Ethan, the golden boy I'd bled for literally, stared at me through the crack, his eyes widening not in remorse, but in the cold calculus of a man who'd just been checkmated. And as the locks clicked into place, I whispered to the empty room, "You think you know betrayal, kid? I've been carrying yours for 30 years. It was one of those sticky August evenings in suburban Atlanta, the kind where the humidity clings to your skin like regret, and the cicadas scream their indifference from the live oaks lining our cul-de-sac. Our house, my house, built on the sweat of 2 jobs and the ghost of a husband who bailed when Ethan was 5, sat squat and stubborn on Peachtree Lane. A relic of better days when Reagan O'Malley was the queen of PDA bake sales and mortgage payments. Now, at 68, I was just the old lady in the rocker, knitting scarves no one wanted and pretending the arthritis in my hands didn't throb like a fresh wound. Ethan had breezed in that afternoon. All pressed khakis and that cologne that smelled like money, venture capital money, the kind he'd been chasing since he ditched community college for Silicon Valley knockoffs in Austin. He was 42 now, divorced twice, with a third on the horizon, and a daughter, Lily, who he saw maybe twice a year if the flights aligned with his pivot to crypto. He dropped his leather weekender by the door, kissed my cheek like it was a formality, and launched into it over sweet tea on the back porch. "Mom, we need to talk about the future," he said, his voice that polished baritone he'd honed for TEDx knockoffs. The sun was dipping low, painting the azaleas in blood orange, and I swear the air turned sour right then. "You're not getting any younger. The stairs here? They're a lawsuit waiting to happen. And that hip. My hip's fine." I cut him off, setting my glass down harder than I meant. The ice clinked like teeth chattering in the cold. "What is this really about? Ethan, you haven't called in weeks." He leaned forward, elbows on knees, that fake concern furrow between his brows, the one that had suckered investors out of millions. "It's about you being safe. Independent. I've been talking to some folks. There's this place in Marietta, Willow Creek. Assisted living. Top tier. Views of the Chattahoochee. Yoga classes. The works. They'd handle everything." I laughed, a dry bark that startled a mockingbird from the feeder. "Handle me? Like I'm some Amazon return? No. Thank you. This is my home. Your father's home. The one I kept when he ran off with that secretary from the mill." Ethan's jaw tightened, just a flicker, but I caught it. He'd always hated the divorce stories, the ones that painted his dad as the villain, which he was, but blood's thicker than ink, even when it's diluted. "Mom, be reasonable. You're alone here. Bills piling up. What if something happens? Lily needs stability." "Not this." "Stability," I echoed, heat rising in my chest like moonshine in a mason jar. "You mean you need the deed free and clear so you can flip this place for your next disruption? I saw the Zillow comps on your phone last Christmas." He straightened, all 6'2" of him unfolding like a switchblade. "That's not fair. I'm thinking of you. But if you won't budge." He paused, fishing for the kill shot, and found it. "Nursing home or leave? Your call. I'll handle the paperwork either way." The words hung there, venomous and final, slicing through 40 years of birthdays, braces, and bailouts. Nursing home or leave. From my own son. The boy I'd rocked through colic, defended from bullies, and yes, covered for in ways that still haunted my dreams. I stood slowly, the porch boards creaking under me like old bones protesting, and met his gaze. Get out.
What?
I said get out.
Now.
He blinked, then chuckled, nervous.
Disbelieving.
Mom, come on. This is dramatic. Dramatic. I stepped closer, close enough to smell the bourbon on his breath from lunch. You waltz in here after ignoring me for months. Demand I vacate my life. And call me dramatic? Pack your bag.
Ethan.
You're not welcome until you remember what family means. He rose then, towering, his face flushing that Irish red we both shared.
Fine.
Play the martyr. But don't come crying when the pipes burst or the roof caves.
I'm done enabling this. Denial.
The door to the guest room slammed upstairs 10 minutes later, followed by the thud of a suitcase zipper. I waited in the kitchen, hands trembling as I gripped the granite counter, installed with my savings, not his. When he descended, bag in hand, he paused at the threshold, that cologne now cloying. Call me when you're ready to be an adult, he said, and turned for the door. That's when I did it. I flipped the hall light switch, the one wired to the old fuse box I'd forgotten to update. The house plunged into twilight gloom, and from the shadows of the coat closet, I pulled the lever I'd installed last spring. A soft whir echoed, and the deadbolt engaged, not the front door, but the entire goddamn security system I'd sunk my nest egg into after the neighborhood break-ins. High-tech, app-controlled, with overrides only I knew. Ethan's key wouldn't work. His code, revoked that morning.
Just in case.
He rattled the knob, confusion turning to fury.
Mom.
What the hell? Open up. I stepped into view, backlit by the kitchen fluorescence, my voice steady as a judge's gavel. You wanted me out? Consider this your eviction notice. Sleep in your Tesla tonight. Hotshot. His pounding fists vibrated the frame, muffled curses filtering through. This is insane. Assault. I'll call the cops. Go ahead, I called back. Heart pounding but chin high. Tell em how you threatened to warehouse your own mother. See how that plays in family court. He did call 911. Then his lawyer.
Then me.
Texts blowing up my phone like fireworks on the 4th. I ignored them all, pouring a glass of Cabernet and settling into my recliner with the family album. Page after page of lies we'd both told. Ethan at prom. Gap-toothed grin masking the shoplifted watch I'd paid for quietly. Ethan at graduation. Diploma in hand. Oblivious to the forged transcript I'd greased with PDA funds. And Ethan at 22. The night that changed everything. The hidden run on I-85. The girl from Emory who didn't make it. The blood on his bumper I'd washed away in the garage while he sobbed in the basement. I'd taken the fall then. Anonymous tip or not. Pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor cover-up. Did community service scrubbing graffiti off overpasses. Lost my job at the library. All so he could chase his dreams unscarred. Secrets buried deep, like Confederate gold in the Georgia clay. But secrets fester. And mine had turned to acid, eating at the love until only this remained, a mother's rage. Distilled and deadly. An hour ticked by, the clock in the hall chiming like a countdown. Outside, Ethan's silhouette paced the driveway, phone to ear, gesticulating wildly. I watched from the curtain's edge, the Cabernet warming my veins. Then, the crunch of tires, his best friend, Marcus, pulling up in that black Escalade. The one with the vanity plate vecking. Marcus. The fixer. The enabler. who'd co-signed Ethan's loans and covered his ass in boardrooms. They huddled by the porch light, heads close, Marcus glancing at the house like it was a crime scene. I knew what came next. Denial, then demands, then the twist of the knife. But I'd prepared.
Oh.
How I'd prepared. My son said, nursing home or leave. An hour later, he learned exactly what I'd prepared for him. Marcus knocked first, polite, professional, the southern gentleman in a polo that screamed country club. I let him stew for 5 minutes, long enough for the mosquitoes to find him, before buzzing the door open via the app on my phone. Ethan slunk in behind, face thunderous, but Marcus raised a hand. All calm negotiation. Mrs. O'Malley Reagan, he started, voice smooth as bourbon over ice. Let's talk this out. Ethan's under a lot of stress. The merger in Austin's got him twisted up. No need for theatrics. We sat at the kitchen table, the one scarred from Ethan's childhood crayon wars, under the harsh pendant light that made shadows dance like accusations. Ethan slouched, arms crossed, avoiding my eyes. Marcus slid a folder across, glossy brochures for Willow Creek, financial projections showing my equity release, funding his next fundraise. Subtle as a sledgehammer. I'm not signing, I said flatly, pushing it back. This house stays mine. You want it? Earn it. Ethan snorted. Earn it? I've been carrying you for years, those gifts for taxes, the roof last winter. This is gratitude. Gratitude. The word exploded from me, hot and jagged. I leaned in, voice dropping to that librarian hush that could silence a room. Let's talk real debts.
Shall we?
That night in '03, the rain on 85, the Accord wrapped around a guardrail. You think I forgot the license plate? Or the blood, hers? Not yours, on the floor mats, his face drained, paler than the magnolia petals wilting in the vase. Marcus shifted, uncomfortable, but Ethan recovered fast. That cunning flip he'd mastered in pitch meetings. Ancient history.
Mom.
We moved past it. You said so. Moved past it. I laughed again, bitter as black coffee. I moved past the courtroom, the whispers at church, the job I lost because Judge Harlan knew I'd tampered with evidence. You got your MBA, your corner office, your ex who took half because she smelled the guilt on you. And now you waltz back, demanding I fade away so you can cash in? Marcus clear his throat, ever the mediator. Reagan. Ethan's built something real. Willow Creek's not banishment, it's security. Sign over power of attorney. Let him handle the assets. It's clean.
Clean.
The word twisted in my gut. Nothing about us had ever been clean. Not the lies I'd spun to social services after his dad left, claiming stability when I was one paycheck from eviction. Not the anonymous donation to the scholarship fund that bought his way into UGA. And certainly not the secret I'd unearthed last year, digging through his old boxes in the attic, letters from a PI. Yellowed and damning, proving Ethan hadn't just covered the hit and run, he'd accelerated into it. High on Adderall he'd scored off campus. The girl a pedestrian he'd mistaken for a deer in the storm. I'd confronted him then, over Zoom from his Austin loft, his face pixelated but panic-clear. It was an accident, he'd wheedled. She was jaywalking. You fixed it once, you can bury it again. But I hadn't. I'd filed it away, a loaded gun in my nightstand drawer, waiting for the day he'd pushed too far.
Now.
Here we were, the air thick with that old ozone scent of impending storm. Ethan leaned forward, eyes narrowing that predatory glint, the one that mirrored his father's when the mill checks bounced. You threaten me with that? After everything? Fine. Dig it up. Ruin us both. But Lily, she'd lose her college fund.
Her dad.
The felon.
Think about that.
Mom. Lily. The grandkid I'd babysat through teething and tantrums. The one who called me Gigi and baked lopsided cookies. He weaponized her like a closing argument, and it stung. But I'd anticipated the low blow. Lily knows her father, I said softly. She deserves better than your version of clean, Marcus interjected, sliding another paper, a quitclaim deed,
Pre-notarized.
Compromise. Partial transfer. Keeps the peace.
Peace.
What a joke. I signed nothing, but I did pour them scotch, the good stuff. Macallan 18. A gift from Ethan's first big exit. They sipped, tension coiling tighter. And that's when I played my first card. Tell Marcus about the merger. Ethan. The one with the whistleblower clause. He choked mid-swallow, coughing into his fist. Marcus's brow furrowed. What clause? Nothing, Ethan snapped. But too late. I'd hacked his email, basic phishing via a fake invoice from his cleaners, child's play for a woman who devoured cybersecurity podcasts in lonely nights. The merger with Bioforge. His crown jewel. Hinged on ethical sourcing, but Ethan's side hustle? Dumping tainted peptides into the gray market, skirting FDA regs for quick cash. A whistleblower, some junior dev he'd fired, had the docs. And I'd anonymously tipped them off last week.
Now.
The feds were sniffing. Subpoenas incoming. You bitch, Ethan hissed. Low and lethal.
How?
Preparation, I replied, echoing his ultimatum. You taught me that. Always have an exit strategy. Marcus stood, folder clutched like a shield. This is messy. Call your lawyer. Ethan. We're out. But Ethan didn't move. He stared at me. That flip again from aggressor to supplicant. The boy who once begged for ice cream after a scraped knee.
Mom. Please.
I didn't mean it. The nursing home thing, stress talking. Let me make it right.
Right.
The word dangled. Bait on a hook. I could reel him in. Forgive. Let the house stand as it was. But the acid in my veins said no. Too late for please. But I'll give you a choice. Confess to Lily about the accident. Full truth. And withdraw the deed push. Or I hit send on those emails to the DA. Your call. He wavered, sweat beading on his upper lip. The room shrinking around us, like a noose tightening. Marcus hovered by the door. Phone out. Dialing who knows what. Outside. Thunder grumbled. The first fat drops splattering the windows. Ethan's decision hung there. Controversial as hell. Destroy his empire or his daughter's illusion. Neither right. Neither wrong. Just the jagged edge of family fallout. He chose wrong. Screw you, he spat, rising. You want war? You've got it. As they stormed out, locks re-engaging behind them, I felt the twist of it, not triumph, but a hollow ache. The revenge was primed. But the cost? Lily's face in my mind, innocent and wide-eyed. Still, the die was cast. 1 hour down, and the real storm was just breaking. My son said, nursing home or leave. An hour later, he learned exactly what I'd prepared for him. The next morning broke muggy and merciless. The kind of Georgia dawn where the sun feels like God's own broiler. I woke to my phone vibrating off the nightstand, Lily's FaceTime. Her freckled face filling the screen, eyes puffy from crying. Gigi, Daddy said you locked him out. Is it true? My heart cracked like eggshell under a boot. Sweetie, it's complicated. Grown-up stuff. She sniffled, clutching her stuffed elephant. Mr. Tusks. The one I'd sewn back together after a rambunctious toddler tug-of-war. He yelled at Mommy last night. Said it's your fault. That you're mean.
Mean.
The word from a 9-year-old's mouth. Poison by proxy. Ethan had weaponized her too. The cunning bastard. Flipping the script so I was the villain in her bedtime story. I'm not mean.
Bug.
I love you. Tell me what he said. Exactly. She hesitated, glancing off screen, probably her mom's apartment in Decatur. The one Ethan shorted on alimony. That you own the house to spite him.
And
Something about a car crash? When he was young.
bingo.
He'd cracked. Partial confession to soften the blow. But enough to muddy waters. I soothed her as best I could, promises of ice cream sundaes and sleepovers, then rang off. Resolve hardening like mortar. Time to escalate. By noon, the living room was command central. Laptop open to Ethan's dark web forum posts. Yeah, I'd gone there. Tutorials from bored retirees on YouTube. Printer spitting affidavits. And a pot of chicory coffee brewing strong. The revenge I'd prepared wasn't some Lifetime movie Molotov, it was surgical. American as apple pie and subpoenas. Layered with the bureaucracy that chews souls slow. First layer, the financials. I'd mirrored his cloud drive months back, after spotting Mom's equity plan in his search history. Turns out, he'd been siphoning loans from my accounts, automated transfers disguised as charity donations, funneled to his Shell LLC in the Caymans. 6 figures over 2 years. Enough to tank my Social Security if the feds audited. I compiled the trail. Bank statements, IP logs, even a voice memo of him bragging to Marcus about harvesting the nest egg. Sent it all to the IRS whistleblower line. Anonymous. With a note, check the son's access codes. Second, the personal. That journal on the mantle? Not just memories, a ledger of his sins. Cross-referenced with public records. The hit-and-run victim's family. I tracked them to a trailer park in Macon, the mom. A nurse now, who'd lost her daughter and her faith in one skid. I wrote her a letter. Not accusatory, but factual. Dates. Details. Ethan's plate number from the impound photo I'd bribed a clerk for. Enclosed a check, my savings. What was left for their hardship fund. Justice delayed. I wrote, but not denied. Third, the twist he never saw coming, the house itself. I deeded it last spring. Not to him, but to Lily, irrevocable trust, triggered on my passing or incapacity. Lawyer in Alpharetta. Shark from my book club. Drew it up airtight. Ethan thought he was circling the kill. Really? He was chasing smoke. One email to the trustee, and he'd learn. No flip. No windfall. Just a little girl's legacy. Locked away from Daddy's grubby hands. I hit send on the IRS packet at 1:47 p.m. The confirmation chimed like a starting pistol. By 2:15, my doorbell rang, not Ethan, but 2 suits from the SEC, badges gleaming, questions about irregularities in Bioforge disclosures. They were polite, southern drawls softening the steel, but their eyes said game on. I played dumb widow, offered sweet tea and alibis, but planted the seed. My boy's always been ambitious. Sometimes too much. Ethan called at 3:02. Voice a raw wire. What did you do? Marcus just got a subpoena. The deal's cratering. Poetic. Isn't it? I replied, stirring sugar into my glass. You evict me from my life. I evict you from yours. You crazy old, he caught himself, flipping to wheedle.
Mom.
Stop. Lily's asking questions. I told her a white lie about the crash, but she's scared. Meet me halfway. I'll drop the nursing home crap. Hell, I'll move back. Fix the place up. Halfway. The offer dangled, tempting as forbidden fruit. I pictured it, Sunday barbecues, him mowing the lawn, grudging peace. But the flip, his constant damn flips, eroded trust like acid rain. Too late for halfway. Come over. Alone. We'll talk terms. He arrived at dusk. The rain now a steady tattoo on the roof, turning the driveway to slick obsidian. No Marcus. No armor, just Ethan, soaked and shrunken, towel drying his hair in the foyer. We faced off in the living room, the family photos watching like ghosts at a wake. I get it, he started, hands up in surrender. I pushed too hard. The money crunch. The ex is bleeding me dry, it warped me. But you're my mom. Blood. Blood, I echoed, stepping closer, the journal in hand. Like the blood you spilled? Or the one I spilled for you, lying to cops? To myself.
To God.
He deflated, sinking onto the sofa, head in hands. I was scared. Young. Stupid. It haunts me every day. That's why I built the walls, to outrun it. Outrun. Tears pricked, but I blinked them back. You dragged me into the grave with you. And now Lily? Using her as leverage. He looked up, eyes red-rimmed. That boyish plea resurfacing. Help me fix it. For her. Please. The climax crested then, raw and ripping. I could end it, forgive, co-parent the wreckage. Or pull the trigger. Controversial? Hell yes. Who was the monster? The son who'd killed and concealed? Or the mother weaponizing grief? Readers would split. Team Ethan. The flawed prodigal. Team me. The vengeful matriarch.
No héroes.
Just survivors clawing for air. I chose the gray. Sign this. I slid the confession across. Full account of the hidden run. Notarized.
For the DA.
In exchange, he withdraws all claims on the house. Enters therapy. Steps back from Lily till he's clean. Or I release everything. Your empire. Your freedom gone. He stared at the paper, pen hovering, the rain a roar outside. Minutes stretched, tension coiling like a spring. Then, the twist, his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown, trust activated. Property to Lily O'Malley. Effective immediately. My lawyer. Proactive. Ethan's face crumpled. Not rage, but revelation. You gave it to her? Not me. For her future, I said softly. Not your greed. He signed, hand shaking, the pen scratching like claws on coffin wood. But as he rose, envelope in hand, the confession for me to hold, he flipped one last time. Voice steel. You win,
Mom.
But remember, blood runs both ways. Someday, Lil'll ask why Gigi's alone in this big house, whispering secrets to walls. He left then, taillights fading into the downpour, and I collapsed into the rocker, the weight crashing down. Victory? Pyrrhic as hell. The house was mine, ours, but the silence echoed emptier than before. Happy ending? Or tragedy and denial? Debate that over beers at the Waffle House.
Folks. Me?
I poured another scotch, toasting the ghosts. Revenge tasted like ashes. But damn if it didn't burn true.